All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Let me get this tweeted out for everybody here so we can get started. 1 second. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. Let's take a look and see what we got up for today. So today we're going to continue our discussion on secrets for profiting. Okay. This is based on some of the material in Stan Weinstein's book, The Secrets for Profiting in Bulls and Bear Markets. So kind of appropriate here as we are reaching recent, all-time highs in the market with a recent turn down. And so it's kind of stuff that shows us, hey, are we at a top here? Are we continuing, right? So this is pretty cool. So today we're going to talk about momentum, and pretty cool little indicator here that we talk about. We talked about momentum indicators in the past, but we'll get a little bit more into that here. Before we get started, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good. Well, let's check and see where we're at with the market. So let's just let's recap here what today was. So today was the gap fill day, right? So we had a big gap down yesterday, pretty bearish coming from over the weekend, right? Lots of bearish stuff, right? We had the coronavirus, starting its outbreak and starting to manifest throughout the globe, right? And so definitely scared a lot of folks and definitely scared the market. We also had an embassy strike on the U.S. embassy, rocket strike on the U.S. embassy in Iraq, and so a lot of this material, had the market pretty scared, into Sunday night and into Monday morning, and we saw a gap down. So at that point, it's okay. So once we go live and the market opens, we see how we react to that, and we ended up gapping down to hold some pretty good levels right here. You can see we had a nice congestion zone right here. Right, so these levels were held. We found some buying pressure, and we got actually a pretty decent little push up. Right, the range of the day was 24.35. Right, and we ended up basically putting in a spinning top for the day. So that left us off on Monday with a consideration right here. So what we did was we broke down essentially below the intermediate trend line. Right, so our micro trend line was up. It's kind of like a bump and run line, and we did a quick move to this line right here. So as we held this line, right, that was kind of a key area. We wanted to see if we closed bearishly below here, right, because technically this was the trend box right here, and if we closed bearishly below there, we would expect some more downside follow through. But since we had a lower shadow, right, we kind of had to be suspect with it. So we drew the trend box around this area right here, and with apparently good results, right? Because we ended up gapping up this morning, and then essentially had a gap and go today for a plow up to fill this open gap right here. It's still a closing gap, right? So we still have that close right there that we haven't tested yet, and we closed today with an upper shadow, which is pretty interesting. S&P futures ended up ticking down a little bit here at the open of the futures market this evening, but they are green again. So we'll take a look at those in a second. Let's take a look at today's price action and see how we got to where we did today. And so let's take a look. So SPX, right, we would put in a 15 orb, right, first 15-minute candle. The reason we like the 15-minute orb is because typically we get the most volume in those first 15 minutes, and this is where the bears draw their line in the sand. If you break above that, they tend to give up, and the market can break through it, right? And here's where the bulls draw their line in the sand. If you break below there, they tend to give up, and it pushes down below. So here we stayed within the 15 orb range. We did inside 15, which broke to the upside, right? Gave a really strong handle right here, and then just continued to drift higher through the day. A little bit of a bull flag right here, kind of an extended bull flag. Inside 15, tried to work its way down, but held these levels right here, and then worked its way up, right? So you can see here, these are the actual key levels that we provide to our members before the market open, and you can see here today, we tested some key levels right here, right? So we tested the gap window, right? We entered the gap window. Look at that. Here's our open gap right here. We worked ourselves right to it today. So kind of pulled back a little bit and then kind of hung around those levels today. Here was the closing gap up there. That's where we closed on Friday. We didn't quite get there today, but who knows, it might be in the sights for tomorrow with futures up the way they are. And so one of the reasons that we're up probably a little bit here is Apple was pretty strong after hours. It had a good earnings report, so it didn't disappoint there. It did push to fresh all-time highs after hours, but it's pulled back. Looks like it's probably going to we'll see. Right now, if it opens up, it'll open right before the previous all-time highs. I imagine there would be a little bit of a movement there to try to get fresh all-time highs after earnings. So we'll see how that holds into tomorrow. So good stuff. So that's what we're looking at today. We'll take a look at chart requests in a little bit. But first, I want to just go over this momentum concept right here. So this is pretty interesting, right? This is a tough one to simulate. So yesterday we talked about the advanced decline line, right? It's a really cool tool that shows your advancing issues minus your declining issues, and it forms basically a trend, I mean, like a chart, right? And so we saw that if we break down below that yesterday, that we could start to see that we may be reversing in the market. We may have a top in. Oftentimes, those trend lines need to get retested, and then once they get retested, sometimes that's where the market tends to crash, right? So, or at least get a fast down move. And so today we're going to talk about momentum. It's a continuation of the advanced decline concept. And so I just kind of want to illustrate that because in the book, what he talks about is he actually draws his momentum index. He actually calls it momentum index. And although this tool, from what I can tell, is not available in Thinkorswim, there's a couple ways to simulate it. And essentially, what it is the 200 moving average of the advanced decline line. So since the advanced decline line itself is a sub tool, it's tough to get it into the main box. At least I didn't see how to do that yet. But you have, if we go to the daily chart, right? If we look at our daily chart right here, let's go to another clear drawing. Give me 1 second. Oh, let's go to SPX. Sorry. Take a look here. Now, SPX obviously isn't the entire New York Stock Exchange, but let's take a look here. So here we go. We've got our clear chart right here. And let's go back again a couple years so we can get a little more action in here, right? So you can see how volatile we've been since 2018, right? Just some craziness right here. So, but anyway, so what we can see here is the general chart right here. So we looked at the advanced decline line. So it's really tough to do a moving average of an indicator. So one thing we can do is we can simulate that here, right? And so we've talked about the advanced decline before. There's not a specific ticker for it, but one thing you can do is type in the ticker box ADVN, right, for your New York Stock Exchange advanced issues, and then you could do minus your DECN, your declining issues, and it gives you a chart like this, and it's pretty nonsensical, right? It's really tough to get any real read off of this, right? It just shows, hey, we're up, we're down, we're up, we're down, we're up, we're down, right? So this is not really a smooth line right here, but one of the things we can do, right? So, well, if we really wanted to, we could actually make this chart a line drawing. So just kind of see what that looks like here. So just turn that into a line. So it's a kind of a crazy line right here, right? So, but one of the things we can do is draw a moving average on this. And this actually becomes pretty interesting. So if we do that, we type in simple moving average here. Okay, so his concept of the momentum index was a 200 moving average of the advanced decline. Okay, so we put in a 200 moving average here. And we'll draw that. Let's make it really big and funky. Make it a level 4. There we go. So there's your advanced decline line. Okay, does that really help us? Not really. It's just a kind of a straight line. But what it does do is give us levels, right? So we have 0 to -1 and all that stuff, right? So what we could do is really zoom in on this, okay? And we could start to see some very interesting patterns taking shape, right? So we saw, right, we know that back in December, right, we hit a low. So if we look at the moving average here, we can see that. So one way to kind of tune all this stuff out is to actually go into settings. And you could actually go appearance and kind of make everything the color of the background, right? So I think this color here, give me 1 second. Let's see if I can make this color right here. Kind of hide all these lines through using color tricks. Give me 1 second. So we go like that. Okay. There. So you can barely see the lines right there. So now all we have is the simple moving average. Okay. So basically what we look for is just like anything. Oh, cool. So basically what we look for just like anything is changes in trend, changes in movement. We also have our 0 line right here. So this is a very, very key line. So let's put a line here. So we have our 0 line here. Okay, so let me edit properties. Let me make that 0. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to extend it to the right, extend it to the left. Okay, and then we'll just call that, 0 line. Okay, so that gives us our 0 line right there. So obviously, anytime we are below these levels, right, we can see momentum has definitely shifted to the downside if we are negative, right? Anytime we're above it, right, we see bullishness, right? And of course, we could look at interpretations of it, right, for, general movement, right? We can still draw trend lines on it here, right? So when we break down below these lines, right? So this happened in December of 2018, and you can see the momentum really started to shift to the downside, and definitely when it got negative right here, then we saw a quick spike here. We draw a trend line on this. Very similar, right? So we get bullish, in a couple areas right here. You can get a little bit tighter on that. Look at that, right when it got to the 0 line, boom, that was one, right at the New Year's reversal right there, right? So this is a very, very cool tool and can really help us find changes in momentum just using trend line tools, right? Range breakouts, things like that. So you can see here, momentum was range bound, and then back in July, right? If we go to the daily chart, if we go to daily chart on SPX, right, we would be able to see that back in July. Give me a second right here. I mean, we don't really need to look. We know everything was bullish, right? So back in July, we had a nice movement to the upside, right? Pulled back in August, right? And continued our progression, right? So pretty cool stuff, right? So this is a really cool tool that can be used to help gauge the sentiment of the market. So you can see here, right, in October, we had a little bit of a peak here, and we are starting to see another kind of downside movement right here in the market. So we'll see. It's starting to curl back up again. So we'll see if the momentum decides to continue its way up. But generally, the momentum is above the zero line and continues to remain bullish, right, until proven otherwise. So definitely something to keep an eye on here. Again, you can draw trend lines on this too. So you can see from this level to this level, right? We are, even though we're at all-time highs, the momentum is kind of calming down a little bit, right? Because this is just your advancing issues, minus your declining issues. So we'll kind of see if this can get back above this trend line and start to get normalized a little bit. So cool. So let's go back to our charts here. Let's kind of clean this up a little bit, and then I want to show you one more real quick thing that we could do, and it's really just simply another tool that I just kind of discovered and found kind of interesting. So I'll share that with you guys here. So let me change these colors back to upticks will be green, down ticks will be red, right, and neutral ticks will be clear. And we'll go like that, and we'll put a regular chart up here. We'll do the bar chart right there. So there we go. And one of the things we could do as well is actually use the momentum study itself. And what you can do is put a moving average over that. And they actually have a momentum tool in here that's called momentum percent. Okay, so you can see that right here. It's called momentum percent. And actually, no, momentum SMA, sorry, where it shows the moving average of momentum, and you can make that anything you want to. So one of the things we would do here is make the momentum 200, a length of 200, and the SMA length you can kind of make anything you want to, right? So we can make it a 5 SMA or a 5 MA, and it's an SMA in this case. Okay, so you can kind of catch the fluidity of the of momentum itself, and you can actually remove momentum and just show the moving average itself. Okay, so we can see here, and it's always good to have the 200 moving average on here, but right. So one of the things we could do is make it a because he did like the 30 moving average, right? So you can get kind of close to it, 30 times 4. Right, so you can make it the 120 or something like that, just to kind of simulate what the market would look like there. Okay, so you can kind of see this is essentially a 30 MA on the weekly, right, translated into the daily chart, right? Because 4 weeks, 5 days a week. Anyway, close enough, right? So that's the idea right here. So but the idea is just very, very similar, right? You can see here the moving average cross below. Essentially the same time that we looked at earlier, right? And you can see, right, we got bearish right here, and then once we got above the moving average, right, things got the zero line, things began to get bullish again, right? And you can kind of adjust this how you want to, but you can see here we get bearish right here, we get bullish again, and we've been kind of bullish ever since. So just another tool you can use is kind of track momentum of the market, but it is a tool that Weinstein liked to use to gauge that momentum and to try to track to see whether or not we are continuing in an uptrend or seeing a reversal. So pretty cool little tool right there, and thought you guys would find that helpful. And at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can. Try to wrap up as early as possible so we can get a good night's sleep and have an awesome trading day tomorrow. And so if anybody has questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window. So we have a few that came in here from Shirley, so let's take a look there. So Shirley had a few pretty good ones right here, so let's take a look here. So BDX, oops. Why are my fingers not working? There we go, BDX. So let's take a look. So BDX, yeah, so Becton Dickinson, pretty strong still. So bullish day today for sure. A little bit of an upper shadow, tends to be holding its trend line right here. So again, bullish still proven otherwise. It did close above all these recent levels here. Would like to have seen a little more volume on it, but still looking pretty bullish. Earnings coming up February 6th, so definitely something to keep an eye out for. AYX. This is a bullish one too. This hit our radar intraday today. Again, it didn't have the volume that we like, but again, still closed nicely over these recent levels right here. So AYX has been very, very strong and has had a nice breakout move from a consolidation period in here. So definitely working its way up. PCG. Been riddled with problems, but has managed to whittle its way out of them. So this is pretty interesting, right? So this is what we talked about where we wanted it to close, right? We drew this the other day. And so it finally did that, right? So it gave a nice close over these levels, increased volume. So PCG is looking pretty bullish going into tomorrow. So we'll see if that gets any follow through. Again, this sector has been pretty strong. This is, of course, is the worst performer of the sector, but it has some levels it could be working on. So I definitely like yesterday's candle to see if it gets some follow through the upside. I like how it filled the gap and closed above those levels today. So that's looking really good. LAUR. PCG is a good one to keep on the radar for sure. I like that one. And then let's see what else we got. LAUR, not PAUR. We got it, fingers. We're good. It's like expanding its horizons or something like that. Wow, look at that. Laureate Education, big gap up today. What was the deal with that one today? So that was Explorer Sales. Okay, so just be careful with that one, Shirley. So, it had a big gap up today. That's typically the day it moves, right? Closed over a lot of these levels. But if it's a sale, acquisition type thing, this thing could chop around for a while. So just always be careful with those type of moves. And then WHR earnings today. Okay, so WHR had a nice move today, right? Pushed out of the cloud, right? Nice gap up and tried to gap and go. Couldn't quite get over these levels right here, and then certainly not over these levels. So it found a little selling pressure in that area, but did have a nice move to get up to it today. So again, earnings report today. Crazy 15 orb level, inside 15 up, kind of like the rest of the market right there, but really, really strong move from once it retested those lows. So a buy the dip opportunity at the bottom of the cloud today on the daily chart. Very, very good stuff. Nate, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the like button. Yeah, that's right. We love it when everybody hits like. We appreciate it. Sean, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. Michael, what up? SQ, yeah, beautiful close today on SQ. Just like super strong candle today. I mean, it's in the gap. I mean, it's showing that it wants the gap, right? So it closed at a lot of these levels, all the stuff we like, right? It finally, remember we talked about it was playing the guitar strings down here, so many different levels that it was testing. It finally got out of it today. It's in the gap. I mean, super strong. It should definitely be on the radar for tomorrow. Did it make any moves after hours? It's kind of drifting after hours a little bit. But again, this is one I would look for continued strength as it's now breaking out and trying to get into to do the gap fill right now. So great one right there. SO, another one, right? So Southern Company, this has been another utility company that has just been unbelievably strong, right? Nice breakout candles here out of this congestion zone, and then actually trading range for a while, and then boom, right? So accumulation and markup, right? Cause and effect. So it's definitely working. Just been incredible right there. IIPR. This has been really strong too. It had a nice candle yesterday. It was tricky, right? The high of this candle was 85, and yesterday's close was 84.97. So it was like really, really borderline on that one to see if it would move, right? I'd like to see it close over those levels, and the volume was kind of down too, right? It did hold the 200-day moving average nicely with a lot of volume. It got some follow through, and then boom, a gap and go today. So that's kind of one just to kind of look out for once it gets over these levels right here. Cleared that this morning, then boom, got up to the 200-day moving average and closed above it. So it's still looking really strong. And again, this is kind of goes along with the pot sector, so the wellness sector. So it's kind of doing that right now. So BYND. Beyond is kind of working, right? We drew sort of started to draw a pennant right here. It's still kind of contained within this range here. Let's see if it can eventually, give us a little breakout move, and then hopefully give us a move out of those levels. See if they continue to mark this thing up. So, Michael, so Square and Bitcoin correlate nicely. Southern is just beautiful. Oh, I know, yeah, Southern is amazing. So it used to be tough, but it is beautiful right there. So nice stuff on that. But yeah, BTC has been perking up as well, and so Square kind of, like you said, moving along with that too. So it was a nice close today as well. Not as well, actually right now we're still in it, but decent move today, but lots of strength here recently. So SQ kind of going along with that. So I really like that correlation. Great stuff. SNDC4S present and accounted for. Glad you're here, man. Thanks for tuning in. Seneca, good evening. XLE, hope you're doing great and had a great day today. Yeah, so XLE, pretty interesting, right? So these energy stocks are have been getting crushed recently, right? So oil's been struggling a little bit. Oil is up after hours right now, so we'll see if that continues to show any strength, right? And then, it's basically bearish until proven otherwise here. I mean, it's just been really, really tough. So we got, a crazy steep move to the downside right here. So we can see if it starts to get over this trend line. Again, we would like to see some consolidation, maybe up to this line right here, and then close above it, and then maybe start to work its way up. It would be ideal. And then Seneca, I think I saw you something earlier that that Tasty might have it, but yeah, so a couple different methods that we could use, and if Tasty does have it, that'd be superior. Matthew, good evening, good to see you. Cloud guy, what's up? Good evening. Cron and LVGO. CRON. Excuse me. Yep, so Cron actually had a pretty decent day today, so a lot of the wellness stocks were doing pretty well today, right? So it closed over these shadows right here. I think we talked about this yesterday, and so now it is working its way back up the cloud. So let's even get over these levels, right? Prior resistance levels, and then back over the cloud, and then get over these guys, and then try to work its way up. It's got some work to do, but it's definitely appearing to get some interest right here. LVGO. Back into the cloud on LVGO, but a little bit of a lower shadow today as it found some buying support right there. Let's see if we can get over the cloud, over the 50-day moving average, and try to work its way back up on those two. Is it doing anything after hours? Anything interesting? Kind of a couple little ticks out there, but nothing too major. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking for on this one. Heather, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're doing great. Nudie Poo is up. SLV, let's take a look. Silver. These metals have been so tricky, right? So, but one of the reasons that we don't go long silver is we still look for our setups on them, right? So one of the things we needed to see was a bullish close over all these levels. It basically gave a bearish close over that with decreased volume, so we kind of stay out of those, right? So here we gap down, we hit the 50-day moving average today, and so let's see if that holds. We do have increased volume on a bearish candle, but again, it's at a key level, so let's see if that can continue to hold. If not, we might see some gaps getting filled below. Again, these metals like to jump around a lot. And then Win has been getting beat up a lot by this coronavirus stuff because a lot of their revenue comes from their Asian casinos, and so with less travel going on, less people gambling. So that's what we're seeing right now. But basically, a couple big gap downs today, inside day, right up a little bit over the 200-day moving average, so see if that can hold. Maybe they are working their way up right there. So we do have earnings coming up this week, so that should be pretty interesting as well to see what they come up with. And maybe they'll give some guidance about what's going on overseas. Heather, yeah, CGC, let's take a look. So CGC was pretty strong today, right? This is definitely on our radar, right? Kind of gave a Morningstar reversal right here, right? Closed over the 50% of the range right there. Real body under this real body. So it kind of did that, except we weren't really in a downtrend. We're kind of still in a range-bound congestion pattern right here. But still, it could be interesting. It's a very, very bullish day. Increased volume. So let's see if we can continue and try to work its way up back above this candle's high. So it's definitely going to be on the radar. CS Ready, what's going on? Good to see you. Xilinx? Yeah, Xilinx with earnings tonight. It got slammed. Okay, so right now it's at 90. Oof. It got oofed. So where's 90? Oh, right at this guy. Right? Remember this whole line right here? Look at all these support levels right here. So it's kind of gapping down to these levels here. So let's see if that can hold tomorrow. So we got some pretty big areas right here. Again, 87.58 is going to be a major gap and go level. We do have some gaps right here. A gap that could be filled, this 80, 88 to 89 level. So we'll see how that handles that tomorrow. But yeah, definitely had a rough little earnings report right there. So that was not fun. But unless you had puts, then it is pretty fun. So anyway, good stuff there. Good. Tracy, what's going on? Good evening. TER. Let's take a look. Okay, so Teradyne. Had a rough little pullback after earnings, right? Kind of gapped up and it's just kind of like drifted down a little bit. Now it's in this nasty zone again, right? See this kind of congestion zone stuff that's going on right here? It's kind of stuck in this again. So I'm going to actually put a box around that. So it's kind of stuck in this area. It is a little bit above these recent highs right here, but you do have this guy right here. Oh, go back to the trend line. So you have this guy right here, which corresponds to the close that it gapped down at. So you kind of have that closing gap above. So let's even close above that with a little extra volume, and then it can try to work its way back up again. Otherwise, you might see just some more congestion in that area. Archibald, what's going on? LK, let's take a look. Yeah, so LK had a pretty decent day today, up 2 points from the prior close. A little bit tricky with the upper shadow, kind of an inverted hammer, right? So was staring at the 50-day moving average, but it did end up closing green today, and then it took out yesterday's highs, which is really important for it to do. It still has a closing gap above and all these resistance levels. So again, one day at a time on this one. So it had a couple big candles right here, but it hasn't seen that many big candles since then. But let's see if it can try to get above those levels and continue to work its way up. So again, pretty impressive. It got an upgrade this morning from Morgan Stanley, which is I don't know. I guess that implies that they're involved, which is pretty cool. So we'll see if that gets any more bullish upside. Again, probably less customers because of coronavirus. Not a lot of people going out buying coffee. In fact, Starbucks this evening was down a little bit. It's actually down here, probably in sympathy with Starbucks. Let's see where Starbucks is right here. Yeah, Starbucks announced that they closed half of their stores in China because of it, and they didn't indicate what they're thinking about with more of those. But right now we're seeing a little bit of a down move here in sympathy with Starbucks earnings. So we'll see how that holds. Again, we got a couple levels right here. Again, 38 is going to be a key level for it to hold. So let's see how that does into tomorrow. Consult Drag T, what's going on? Perry, let's take a look. Let's take a look. Okay, so Perion. So Perion looking pretty interesting right here. Nice big top, right? Kind of A top right here. So we've got a big gap right here that it needs to defend. It looks like it's trying to do that right now. So we have a little trend line right here, right from these levels, and we'll see if we can eventually close above that and then work its way up. It is coming up on earnings pretty soon in about 2 weeks. So let's see how it does. Let's see how it handles these levels right here. Again, holding this 750 level is going to be key for it. Otherwise it might find itself back into this gap, testing the 50-day moving average, stuff like that. So it needs to get some activity. Okay, enlighten me. What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. AVGO. Let's take a look. Broadcom inside day. Okay, so let's see if it can get out of that inside day tomorrow and get back above this cloud and try to get back to where it was after it announced it had a big deal with Apple. So tough to see it all beat up after that, kind of like it seems like so far away, right? But it did have a big day today, so it reclaimed the 50-day moving average, and then it was up 9 points. So this is definitely a big mover when it wants to. So again, there's an open gap above. So let's see if we can take the inside day up and fill that open gap and maybe even get up to the closing gap right here, which happen to correspond with another inside day level. So let's see if those levels get tested. And then CMG. Okay, so we closed above these levels here, a little bit of an upper shadow, kind of dealing with these recent highs in a congestion zone. Again, I want to see it close above these all-time highs and try to work its way up. Right, pretty impressive stuff, really. If you recall, remember when we were tracking this down move for a while, and then it bounced right off the 200 SMA and the fib fan line, and it's continuing to work its way up, congestion zone after congestion zone after congestion zone, but it's still working its way up. So far so good there. And then Nflx. Let's see. So Nflx is a couple upper shadows right here. It had a big move today, and then it kind of pulled back. If you go to today's chart, right? So it had a big, nice move up today, and then it's like, inside 15 kind of drift back down. So it's struggling. It's getting a lot of selling pressure into this big open gap, which it's trying to get to. So a little bit of a tweezer top-ish look right here. So again, I just want to see it close over these recent highs and then try to test these levels, see if we can get a momentum move up to that gap fill. So we're kind of looking at that too. So yeah, my pleasure. Fat Hat, what's going on? Good evening, Netflix. Well, we just looked at that, and let's just take a look at Shack and see how that's doing right now. So up 93 cents today. Had a little bit of a small range today. Still defending this gap right here. So again, we're in this range right now. So it had a nice breakout candle, gave us a little bit of a move up, and just didn't give that kind of beyond type move or luck and coffee or one of those type of breakout moves right here. And one of the reasons too is because of this upper shadow right here. It came into some prior resistance way back there, and so we got the 200-day moving average that still has to contend with, and again we're still waiting for a close above that for a push over there and out of the cloud, and hopefully a little bit higher for, I believe, a gap fill above. Good stuff. See us ready? Yeah, my pleasure. Tracy, yeah, QCOM and Keys. Let's take a look there. QCOM holding the 50-day moving average. Nice bounce yesterday off of the cloud. So it's getting some nice follow through in that one. It's kind of still decreasing volume here. So it's tricky, right? Tricky. Prior resistance level right here. So let's see if we can close above that with some bullishness. Then we got to play the guitar strings up here, and hopefully maybe it can do a square move at these recent highs. So we got that going on. And then you have Keys. Key's pretty interesting too. Big upper shadow today, which is kind of like kind of disheartening, right? So it's basically found some selling pressure in the range of the 50-day moving average. It is holding the cloud, so that's good. Let's see if we can get a couple closes in here, maybe in the upper end of the range, above these levels, right? Above the 50-day moving average, and then try to get out of the cloud. Kind of a goal right there. So good stuff. Awesome. Great charts tonight, everybody. So I think it was fun talking about the momentum index off the book. I think we've got a few more interesting topics coming up as well. So I hope you guys stay tuned this week for those as well. Michael, yeah, got one more Pace C. Uh-oh, every time I say Pace C, Siri turns up. She always thinks I say, hey Siri on that one. So Pace C here. Did a little bit of an open gap below. It's still defending it pretty nicely with some big volume. Would like to see if it, let's see, actually, it's kind of a little bit rough right here. So we opened at 318.26 and we did close above that level today. Very, very sneaky, right? So let's see if we can work its way up and try to get to that 324 level and then possibly continue its way as it continues its drive forward as it is new to the, isn't it new to the S&P 500 if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, join the S&P 500. So let's see if it can live up to its new reputation. So we got that going on. So good stuff. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Yeah, so thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you can, if you're new here, would appreciate it if you subscribe on YouTube and also hit the like button. We always like that. And then if you get a chance, please check out the links in the description. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening tonight. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so we've still got a lot of trading left this week. And so let's get some good rest. And I hope everybody has a great night's sleep. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. Thank you.